I do like that from Mineski. It's a fairly straightforward draft, but really bombastic as well.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah, I guess it's the whole point, right? Just keep the team alive as long as possible
5
until you can
seconds
find a way to disable Gabby long enough so that you can burst him down. Makes enough sense. I would not be shocked in any way, shape, or form to see a last pick Ember by TNC at this point, because they've basically gone the exact same thing apart from that Venge.
Mineski's turn to
Of course,
ban.
the Earth Spirit wasn't there either, but nevertheless, it was banned out actually by TNC. What do you think TNC is planning to go for that mid roll?
I feel like they want something that comes online fast. They don't want to be waiting around too long. They don't want that Jug, the Magnus, and the Omniite to
10
get any
seconds
bigger as it
remaining.
scales in the late game. I feel like we might see
5
something
seconds remaining.
that can push a bit good. If they're not going to go for it, I think the DK would be decent. If not, something even more old school, the DP maybe? Or something jumpy like the puck to reach into that backline. Any of those do seem quite okay. I think the Queen of Pain could work out as well.
See what the pickup is, Mineski. They have one ban to go before we do get to find out. Take their time with this ban. Of course, Armel did have a very, very nice game. I didn't quite see the score he had, but if I remember correctly, he didn't actually end up dying once.
Yeah, I think it was 12:06 for Armel, so he had an excellent run in that last game. He has been having an excellent run throughout the qualifiers, if I recall right. He's had a few moments, a couple of other games where he didn't die as well.
Mineski's turn to pick.
Necrophos will be the final banner. Now we'll get to see what is the final mid pick here for this dire side. Where do they go with this? It feels like you do need some sort of like real magic burst for that PA, but problem really is as well as Gabby just tends to get a BKB super fast as well. Can be very problematic.
5 seconds remaining.
This could be Mineski's final game as well, we can't forget. I mean, their qualifier lives are on the line. I mean, this is the end of the road. Do really want to force this to a game number 3 if they can.
TNC Predator.
Okay.
Ooh.
That's a... I don't know how to feel about that one, John. I mean, it is the magic burst you need, and it is also a lot of physical damage. How do you feel about that tiny pick?
I don't know, it feels like it ties up a really old kind of draft. I have to say, this does feel like a draft from 2-3 patches ago. And it's effective. I still think it's pretty effective. I just feel like it doesn't quite fit the meta. Or at the very least, it definitely has tapered off the meta for reasons. So we'll find out if Mineski can pull it off. But it's certainly something that isn't as popular now. Of course, the synergy is there. Of course, RP, burst damage from Tiny, great sustain from Omni-Knight and Oracle. You're going to be seeing a lot of activity early on with the support duo of Oracle, and I'm assuming Tiny. So you will have a lot going on. And you don't even need the blink coming out from Magnus as you have the toss from Tiny. So that early initiation is possible for Mineski. I'm just not too sure as to how effective it can be, especially if TNC is still cognizant of how these kind of drafts work, which they should be. It wasn't too long ago when these things were heavily in the meta, so I'm assuming TNC should be ready for this to a certain extent.
TNC taking their time for this final pick. Plenty of options still available for them. Of course, TNC, one game away from getting themselves to France. Time tick out for a moment. Of course, I've got to say, I do love seeing AU back on that Vengeful Spirit. Done so much work over these qualifiers, and he continues to keep his teammates alive over and over again. It's actually ridiculous how often he's done it.
It certainly is, and they do go with the DK for TNC. I am happy to see that. You know what, my predictions have been on point for the past few days, so I'm really chuffed about that. But that DK should do what TNC wants. You know, it comes online fast. It's really solidly tanky. Should be able to get that push going as well in combination with that Chen. And it looks like with AU and Tim's on the Earth Spirit and Chen, it's going to be a core Venge on the offlane for Cuckoo. That's going to be interesting to watch.
Uh-oh. That's interesting. Okay, so Core Venge coming out. We generally don't have much faith in the Core Venge, John, but I don't know, do you see it working out?
It's hard to say. I don't think we've seen it in the offlane ever. Every time we'd see it, it's usually on the safe. So I'm interested to see what you can do with an offlane Venge. Not too sure what you can really expect, but it should be something. I'll be honest, I have no clue what to expect from this, really. Like, it's just really strange. I don't think we've not casted offlane Venge, and I personally haven't watched any match with offlane Venge. So
TNC always tend to do this. When they're one game ahead, they always give Cuckoo some really strange position 3. And I mean, I suppose it's a bit of fun for TNC, but we're going to find out what the game plan is here now. John, I never asked, but I'm assuming you preferred the TNC draft over the Mineski one, but I'm going to go ahead and ask, which one did you prefer?
I do prefer Mineski, mainly because I'm really not sure what to expect from Cuckoo's Venge. Again, it's a wombo combo teamfight sort of lineup we've seen time and time again. It's pretty bombastic. As long as they don't bleed out too much, and in the early game, I think it should go fine. Every time they say Mike, I get very confused in chat, Mike. It's like, good luck, Mike. It's like, yeah, don't fuck up, Mike. Oops.
Don't get us fired, John. For the love of God, it's the last series. No need to screw it up now. My goodness.
Oh, you know me, Mike. That's just the way I am.
Kiss your mother with that mouth, John.
Unfortunately, no.
Gabby, gonna be surrounded right now. He doesn't really know it, although
You fought and died with honor.
only caught one hit at the tree throw.
30 seconds.
Omni Knight just enjoying himself, apparently. KP. Getting the position 3 roll once again. Like you kind of mentioned, though, it's a very old style strategy from Mineski, but sometimes it's the old strategies that just tend to work. Essentially, Mineski's probably very well practiced in this kind.
Yeah, definitely. It's again something that a lot of teams ran a lot, so I'm not going to be too surprised if they get away with a lot more than you'd expect. They do grab a lot of runes. This time, Mineski starts off with 3 bounty runes, so that's a nice little boost for them. Gonna be a good time for Moon in that mid lane. We forgot to mention, Mike, it's gonna be a mid tiny.
Yeah.
That's Moon on Tiny, and it's going to be Jit in the Jug, of course. And it's KP on that offlane Omni. So it's going to be a support Magnus, which we have seen before, to be fair. But it really takes a lot of work to make this support Magnus get going.
We'll see how it goes. And it was rather popular and does tend to work out rather well. Of course, you can't do anything like rush those core items like the Blink or anything else like that, but regardless, you can hit some nice RPs with just using the skewer early on. Most of the time, it's more so about just empowering your teammates rather than actually trying to get the big RPs early on.
Yeah, it's the emphasis for support mag is really just getting these pulls going, because frankly, level 1 Magnus is kind of subpar in terms of ganking attempts, especially the lane partner like Omni Knight. You don't really have much kill opportunities there. You do have to wait until like level 2, level 3, I think is when you're really comfy. Once you have a couple more levels in either the Shockwave or Skewer to really dislocate someone. Beyond that, it's really just going to be a little poke fest here and there.
KP already being very frustrating on that Omni Knight up against Gabby. Gabby gonna try and deal some harassment, but Omni does have some decent regen and of course can heal himself up with that purification. AU keeping Gabby healthy in the lane as well, so KP not really able to harass Gabby out of the lane quite yet. like Raging Potato will go for a bit of a roam, see if there's a rune at that bot river spot, but it's not. It's up top, and that will be a regen rune available for anyone in mid. Looks like Armel will get lucky and go grab it for himself. Moon probably would have preferred it, but
Middle tower is under attack.
Armel will get his mana back up. Meanwhile, the core Venge in the offlane, not doing amazing in terms of keeping up with last hits in comparison to Arjit, but you did see Cuckoo was in a spot of bother before. He was being spun on and had to go for a very early TP back to the tier 1 tower. So he did fall just slightly behind.
Just what I've been waiting for.
Not doing too bad in terms of the EXP department, which I think is really probably one of the more important bits for your offlaner. Is having those early levels to rack up. I think for Venge that is pretty helpful in pumping out the harass with a Wave of Terror. So I think Cuckoo is doing just fine there. He does manage to find a few last hits here as the wave is pulled into their direction.
Mid lane, of course, remaining very equal, John. Like, this is a Tiny versus DK matchup. Generally speaking, they're just going to trade farm for a while until they've got enough levels to actually do something. So they'll just continue to trade harassment, but they'll both just continue healing up through it all as well. We do find ourselves having that relatively slow start between both these teams. Waiting to get a couple more levels up before they do start to get a bit more aggressive. But certainly does feel like Mineski is going to be that team that does play it a bit slower on early and just use that Empower to just farm up as much as possible, especially on that Jug.
Definitely so. It's on Mineski really to kind of just slow down a bit, try to get the items up that they need, try to get the EXP they need before forcing these big 5v5s. Again, they really excel in big team fights, but you don't usually see that until maybe the mid game.
Oh, the courier will be okay. Double damage was there on Ninja Boogie. Needed one more right click for that, but won't quite find it. Moon finding himself very low in HP. Needs to bring some salves up, but courier is currently unavailable, so he'll have to play the risk game. Luckily for him, Armel has no mana available to actually use that Breathe Fire, so not much risk of him really dying here. The Ninja Boogie will rotate his way back up to the top lane. Yeah, there's really nothing for this Oracle to do quite yet. Like, his Jug isn't really in any danger of dying right now. He's pretty much just free farming the safe lane. So it's kind of like no point even being there because you're just going to sap XP from Arjit. Go after the bounty runes instead. Moon now.
Does look like
What I've been waiting for.
does look like we are really reaching a slower point in the game. Both sides really just free farming again. As you mentioned, Ajit up top, just kind of having a free time here. I'm surprised Tim's isn't really forcing the issue here. Just camping up, soaking some XP with Cuckoo. I figured he might want to rotate down mid. I think that would have been a nice kill on the Tiny while he was low. But they do just end up soaking some EXP for this Earth Spirit, which is a fair enough thing to do. I just feel like that's a lot of early potential that you're missing out on. And both teams are pretty happy, it seems, just taking it slow. 6 minutes in. No first blood yet, Mike. Probably one of the slower starts to Southeast Asia we've seen.
That's perfectly fine, like I told you, John. I reckon in a few minutes, once you hit those level 6 marks, and in fact, Armel has, this is that point where you start seeing the action occurring, and you can see Raging Potato does make his way down to the mid lane. Armel doing some decent chip damage onto that tier 1. The Raging, there's not really much he can do here either. Like, unless he found a nice skewer back. Now AU gonna join in with Tims, so they want to continue this push, but Mineski are ready for it. Rotating their own supports over. Tims just clearing up the illusions of the Magnus. Overall, this mid push probably going to end up stopping right here. Don't believe Armel can get much more damage done because his Dragon Form is about to wear off.
Yeah, again, just a pretty moderately paced game. Calm on both sides, focusing on what farm they can get. A little bit of a lane harass, but nothing really to commit. And overall, even. Like, what, 1k net worth lead for Mineski, but it's not really that huge of a lead at this point. You have the cores on both sides pretty much being tied up.
Ninja Boogie gonna get caught out, and he will be the first blood. Armel picks that one up for himself, and there's the tips from TNC. They were waiting for it. Someone had to make a mistake on either side, John, and Ninja Boogie was the first one who unfortunately did it.
Yeah, it's fair enough, and that is a pretty late first blood at around 7.5 minutes, but it does finally come out, and that is a nice little boon for TNC. Still just doesn't really change the economy much. Mineski's still ahead by about 1k. The chorus of Mineski actually leading the way in terms of creep score by at least 3 last hits or so. Much higher in denies, which might explain the network disparity, but
Now Moon.
in terms of active last hits.
He goes in, John, but he's completely surrounded right now. I'm not sure what the game plan was, but Avalanche Toss is decent. He'll go for a TP, but the swap is there from Cuckoo. Moon is just dead. 2-0 now for TNC, and not really sure why they keep running up that hill.
Yeah. I wish I could explain, Mike, but it's a really rather curious spot to be in every single time, and that does open up the push for TNC onto that mid-tier 1, which should go down fairly quick. We do still have Dragon Form for a bit longer from Armel.
Get the fortification out. Armel seems very happy about that.
Dire's middle tower is under
Like you said, Dragon Form will allow him to finish that off, though Raging Potato will join in the mid lane, but what can he really get done with that Magnus? He's copying a lot of damage from Armel.
Yeah, that Divine Favor really amps up the damage coming out from Armel, so really a lot of value from this Chen in terms of at least that, just that alone does a lot for your team.
Absolutely. Well, KP been farming pretty well down in that bot lane, but Gabby is starting to take over slowly. Arjit certainly doing a better job up in his own safe lane, but overall, that Armel is the man to watch on the DK. Does still feel like as well, between a PA and a Jug, like, PA, I mean, it could go either way, because the Omni Slash is always a really nice ability to have, but it does feel like the PA does have that little bit of an advantage, especially once that Omni Slash is gone from Arjit later on in this game. TNC might be in danger. Mineski making their way down bot, but the smoke has been broken. AU does spot them out, and with that, it looks like the smoke attempt is gone.
Yeah, and with that, TNC does actually teleport up top. They're looking to get a push going for themselves onto that top tier 1, while probably sacrificing their bot tier 1, which I feel is a fair move.
Again, Dragon Form comes out. KP, he does get stunned up now, and the magic missile to follow. Still healing himself up. Don't think he really gets away from this one, because Cuckoo did have the swap available. Now Tims is here just in case. I mean, to be fair, it does take quite a few heroes to take him out, but they get the job done in the end, and that definitely means a tier 1 top tower also going down for the side of Mineski. They will go for the bot tier 1 themselves, though. Should be a relatively even trade.
Definitely so. It is a bit of a faster push for TNC, but otherwise I feel like they should be able to clear out that bot tier 1 as well. No defense coming out as they did expend their TPs to head up top, and that's a tower for a tower. Fairly even again. I think the one thing that TNC is happy about is getting that kill on the Omni Knight, of course. So that's a little boon for TNC, and once again, still fairly even. 3-0 on the board, 11 minutes in. Still a Mineski net worth lead so far, but just a tad bit, not too much.
I feel like most of that is just Arjit on that Jug, who has been farming rather well. He's going to be going straight into a Manta style on that Juggernaut. Absolutely fair enough. Especially up against the silence that's going to be coming out of Tims. Things will slow down just a tad bit again. Mineski focusing on getting that farm up. Raging Potato just making sure he doesn't die right now to those Ancients. And at this point, Raging going to stick around with Arjit, ensure he's always empowered, and you're going to really start to see that Juggernaut escalate very fast and farm.
Yeah, that's, again, one of the advantages of having that Magnus, of course. you don't really need to waste time farming up for your own Battle Fury. You have a free one from this very angry horse beast thing. So the farm will accelerate for Ajit, and if it was high before, it's going to get higher now. He's going to keep his team on that network advantage, I feel, which is a boon, and you know, it's going to be a bit of a bane as well, mainly because Mineski will be able to keep up in terms of farm, but they will be riding entirely on Ajit for that.
But Gabby, gonna make his way up top now. He's again gonna be going for that Battle Fury on the PA, which is fairly standard stuff. Just gonna focus up on continuing that farm for the moment. 3-0 now, 13 minutes in. See the armlet coming out on the DK, so Armel probably gonna be more than happy to start engaging with his team once again. And he will be called in by AU on that Chen. And they will go for an immediate smoke as well. Question is, who do they end up finding across the map? They are running towards the east, but unfortunately for them, everyone has TP'd out. And the side of Mineski actually going for their own smoke rotation now, though they do have a targeting Cuckoo on that Vengeful Spirit. Cuckoo as well does have a TP available, will run into the trees, and or in fact he won't even TP, he'll just get called in by the Chen.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
So both sides kind of wasting the smoke, just going on warding run at the very least from Mineski. Does give them a bit more control in that jungle, managing to monitor the farming patterns of TNC, which should help them further down the line, but they do spot out a beautiful set of stacks that Ajit will happily clear out.
That is a nice little win for Mineski. A lot of gold being stolen from the side of TNC, and Ajit, again, very, very happy about that. Has his full Sergeant Yasha up now. I thought he was just going to go straight into that Manta style, but he does opt for the Sergeant Yasha first. That is going to allow him to fight with his team rather than just farm the whole game. I do like that playstyle, especially up against what TNC is going to be bringing this game around. They can't really afford to just allow all the towers to fall while they're still trying to get those core items up.
Yeah, it's a very fair point to make, and once again, you know, we're back to just kind of having a stable game, just finding a farm here. I think TNC is going to wait out until Gabby grabs that Battle Fury Desolator. Until then, probably just gonna have a fairly slow game, not too much aggression coming out. At the very least, no big 5v5, even though I feel like that would favor Mineski heavily. They're probably just happy stacking up right now. Again, having Ajit farm as much as he can before any of these big engagements. And we have our pause of the game, Mike.
And we do have our pause of the game coming out, although it was a quick one. TNC will give the go-ahead. Well, surprisingly enough, we haven't seen aggression from Moon on this Tiny much. Of course, they did go for that smoke, and, well, both teams didn't really find anybody, but Tiny, generally you want to... It's a bit of a snowball hero. You do want to find a few kills early on. May find one now, but AU will make his way to the west of the map. He'll be perfectly fine. Though they do buy another smoke up on the Oracle Ninja Boogie, and perhaps we're going to see another smoke rotation coming up from Mineski. Even Raging Potato manages to farm up a Blink Dagger. My goodness, couldn't get that one out.
It has been, you know, a while since any engagement broke out, so the network has been kind of stable. All the heroes have had time to really find some farm of their own. And yeah, that would explain how even Raging Potato has to blink up as a support Magnus.
Yeah, certainly going to help the side of Mineski though. And again, more ancient stacks to be taken. Ajit really escalating now. 2k ahead of the next in the net worth graph. Gonna go for a Diffusal Blade instead of the Manta. Fair enough. Almost has it in fact. And now he does. Battle Fury, however, will come up for Gabby as well. So Gabby's farm will begin to escalate on his side of things, but certainly it looks like Mineski really do want to start fighting. They understand they must have a big advantage now in terms of gold. Arjit will get started on the mid-tier 1 tower. Armel doesn't have that blink yet, so can't really jump in to initiate. But Mineski appear to back off anyway.
Yeah, once again, both sides not really willing to take these risks just yet. Probably still awaiting a bit more farm on each of their cores. Although they are pretty well set. Again, you know, both sides are evenly farmed. You have a massive amount of gold on Ajit. Still, probably not willing to take that risk until you can be certain that your net worth advantage is enough to secure a team fight.
Armel gonna TP back. Of course, he can just be recalled. He will go ahead and pick that blink up. Smoke is available in AU. Vanguard will come out on the Omni KP. And both teams again in that aggressive position. Waiting to see which one wants to go for the Roshan first. Of course, Mineski, it does feel like they're more ready to go for a quick Rosh rather than TNC. They will go for the tier 1 tower first. And they will be able to find it rather easily. No contestation at all from TNC.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Now Mineski looking for more. TNC just kind of hugging their side. Will appear quite fearful of the team fight right now on the side of TNC.
Does seem rather strange for me to see that TNC is really playing on the back end here, especially considering that their lineup kind of feels like it wants to get a stronger push going. It just feels like it was there a while ago, and it's just kind of tapered off.
Smoke on smoke situation, John. Mineski running in the mid lane. KP trying to bait them out to jump in on him. It should be obvious, but it's not. Armel will go in first. Now the Guardian Angel immediately coming out. Where the hell is Mineski gone? They ran towards the east side of the map. Now they'll come in, but it may be too late. Raging Potato, he'll get the skewer out. Armel is falling rather low, but the swap out will save him for the moment. They'll continue the chase, and now the Omni comes up, but again, the Chen Heal will keep Armel alive. They'll finally burst him down with the Avalanche Toss, and Cuckoo can't really help out in the situation any longer. He will back off this, well, I say safety, he does end up dying. 2 heroes go down, 2 cores for the side of TNC. I suppose you see the weakness of the Venge core is, and it felt like after the swaps came out, she just couldn't do anything else.
Yeah, it's definitely very limited in terms of its kit, and you know, it really is more of a damage kind of carry, besides utility for swaps. So it's going to be a while until that really does come online. I think one great thing for Mineski is that they had that fight without even expending the RP. Sure, they expended the Omni Slash, but that RP is still there from Raging, and next time a fight breaks out there, you will have that option for initiation.
Yeah, he's had it for 20 minutes or so now. Been a long time. But again, it's kind of like they're not really running into each other very often. He found no necessity to throw it out onto one hero, and that was fair enough. Gabby, seemingly not quite ready yet. Going into the Desolator before the BKB, it seems. Mineski, again, moving into that mid lane. KP, he does have the full Crimson Guard up now, and you can really see Mineski just so tanky with their lineup. Very, very hard to kill. It does feel like later on, these fights are going to be very, very prolonged, even if Gabby is dealing that much damage on a PA.
I do start to worry for TNC's lineup. Again, it just feels like you get a bit more scalability from Mineski's, whereas TNC's, I mean, it's not like you have a timer, but you will be facing off against an RP in late game, and that always maintains its utility. It always maintains its strength, no matter what point of game you're in. So, you know, that RP will always be relevant, and there's really nothing that big from TNC that can kind of counteract that. You don't have anything like a Black Hole, you don't have anything like a Chronosphere that can just jump in and turn these team fights for you. So, as the game goes on, I think Mineski does have a solid advantage in the fact that, you know, TNC's initiation just isn't going to be as amazing as Mineski's.
Raging, looking for Tim's right now. Won't quite find him, but Arjit will find the T1 top tower. Meanwhile, TNC, they do get the BKB up on Gabby, so they do opt for that rather than the quick deso. Mineski moving in again, trying to bully the position of TNC, and immediately TNC do not want anything to do with the side of Mineski. Willing to back off and again continue the farm on this PA. Try to make it so Gabby can get back to that point where he can just literally delete people off this game. Arjit, however, will get started on the Roshan. This will at least force a fight from TNC if they want to try and counter this, but it's going to be a rather quick Roshan being taken. TNC are moving their way in. Mineski looking for the team fight right here, right now. They'll find Cuckoo again. Nice swap out, though. He actually jukes him out for just a bit and buys a lot of time. TNC, again, not willing to fight quite yet. Gabby, though, looping around, trying to find the supports, perhaps the Oracle. But they'll just go back into that Roche pit and keep going. Now the roll in. Tims will get it started. Armel, they do take down Ninja Boogie on that Oracle. Magnetize still going around. Omni Slash is bouncing, but not doing that well. Arjit, Armel falling low. Cuckoo about to fall as well, though. Guardian Angel comes through. Mineski starting to win this team fight, and now they'll go after Armel, who's so darn low right now. He will finally end up falling. The buybacks are coming out from TNC. All three heroes do get themselves back into this match, and Gabby still chasing for more, though he's got to be very careful to get turned around. And there's the RP. He does find both of them, and now look at the damage being dealt. The avalanche toss coming out from Moon. It's an ultra kill. He might even find a rampage. Just give it to him. Armel being left, and Arjit says, no, that's mine. What a party pooper.
You know, it is sometimes, Mike. Some guy just takes your treat, and all you can do is just say yes because you're the sport. But a lovely, lovely fight from Mineski, and suddenly we're at, 4-9, but 13k net worth lead from Mineski, and that's the tier 2 gone. Probably gonna be a tier 3. I don't see any sort of defense coming out from TNC, really. Granted, they already have used their big team fight ults from Mineski, so the next fight isn't gonna be as scary. But again, TNC does feel like they're really playing from a very, very far behind position.
They will lose the first racks of the game. I mean, they had no buybacks available. You can kind of see why TNC didn't want to fight that whole time. It's just Mineski just keeps staying alive throughout the engagement. Like, they lost the Oracle early on. Look at Moon. He's going for even more. He takes down AU inside his own base at 24 minutes into the game. It's an old strategy, John, but Mineski, they know how to play it and they're making it work.
Yeah, it's still really effective despite it, not being in the meta. When you can run it this effectively, it pays off quite well. And Gabby might actually be in a spot of trouble? No.
Trying to help his team out, getting those bounty runes. At least gets 2 for his team. And just trying to finish off that Deso, get that damage, but it may not be enough. What else are they going for here on TNC?
It's really hard to say because even with that BKB, you are susceptible to that RP. I think the key thing is to try to find a way to take out Raging Potato. Not going to be an easy task as he is hanging in the back line. So you do have to somehow find a way to catch the guy at the back.
Look how far that net worth graph just dipped, John. The 18k advantage to the side of Mineski just out of nowhere. That one engagement gained them pretty much about 10k worth of gold.
Yeah, it's really, really massive swing for Mineski, and again, it's just going to be very hard for TNC to hold out. I feel their draft has really fallen behind quite a fair bit. I think that's really down to just the cores they have. When you have a core Venge, it's really not going to do too much in terms of big 5v5s. And again, we still haven't seen just how effective this core Venge can be in the offlane, so far it hasn't paid off.
Margit, front lines, hitting the tier 3 tower with that Aegis. Doesn't really feel any kind of pressure right now. He has the rest of his team smoked up behind him, ready to go whenever necessary. Jit gets swapped in, but the spin is immediate. And now Cuckoo may end up falling. In fact, it looks like he will. No buyback for him. Now they found another Raging. He did not commit the RP. That is the DK as well. I mean, this just looks like GG, honestly, John. They're going to lose their second racks now. They can't get megaed because there's still a tier 2 tower up at the top lane. So they can hold out on the side of TNC, but Mineski continue moving forward. Now going on to Tim's, throwing him into KB. Raging Potato skewers him back. They're just throwing him all around the map right now. And Tim's was literally just a volleyball, John. And now Gabby going to try and go for a team fight, though. The RP being committed and the Guardian Angel. Gabby can't do anything. They call GG 27 minutes in. I have to ask, where was this Mineski the whole qualifier, John?
You know, I'm not sure, Mike. This seems like something they had in their back pocket for when things seem dire, and I guess this was the right time to pull it out. We'll see if they can keep that up, because this was a very impressive display coming out from Mineski. TNC, I feel it looked very different for them as well. Just felt quite off compared to the team we've been seeing throughout this qualifiers. So we'll see if both teams shape up for the next game. It is the last chance for both of these teams to Disneyland, Mike.
Yeah, we're officially in our literal last game. We know that 100% now. TNC versus Mineski. TNC now find themselves a bit on the ropes. They've got to be a bit careful with that draft, John. I think we'll have a chat about it when we get into the draft phase. For the moment, we are going to the lobby. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll be right back, and hopefully Game 3 turns out to be a bit more entertaining, because that was very slow-paced. But well played to Mineski. I mean, they played the strategy perfectly. Otherwise, John, we'll be right back. Won't be too long.